often the things that we wear show something of our, maybe not character, but it's certainly our inclinations. If I wear a Dodger shirt, that might show that I am a fan of the Dodgers. Paul says that as those who have been chosen by God, who are seen as holy in his sight, who are beloved by him, that what we wear should indicate who we are. It should indicate our identity. And so as we go on in Colossians chapter 3, in verse 12, Paul writes, "So as those who have been chosen of God, holy and beloved, put on a heart of compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience." Today we want to think about that characteristic of humility. And a lot of times I think we get the wrong idea of humility. We equate humility with kind of that person who goes around sort of self-flagellating, saying, I am a worm, I'm no good at anything, I don't have any confidence in myself, those type of things. But that's not the biblical picture of humility. In Romans, Paul tells us that we shouldn't think more highly of ourselves than we ought to think. But he doesn't say think more lowly of yourself than you ought to think. He's talking about having a right opinion of ourselves. We develop true humility not when we compare ourselves to others, but when we think about God, when we think about his character and how he has made us. And that helps us to keep a true perspective on who we are. We recognize that the gifts and talents and abilities that we have come from him. We recognize that the resources that we have come from him, that we can't take credit on our own. And so then we look at others from a different perspective. If I think that my talents are because I'm, all that, then when I look at others who maybe aren't as talented in some area, I can look down on them. But when I remember that my talents come from God, and I look at others who may not be gifted in the same way, all I can do is thank God for the gifts that he has given me, and then be thankful for the gifts that he has given others. Paul wrote in his letter to the Philippians, "Do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility of mind regard one another as more important than yourselves. Do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also for the interests of others." True humility will cause us to have a right opinion of ourselves. It will also cause us to have a right opinion of others, and to be willing to set aside our rights, or at least the rights we think we have, in order to do something that might be in the best interest of someone else. Again, humility is supernatural. It is something that we don't just say, I'm going to grit my teeth and be humble. We ask God to develop that characteristic in us. And the more that we focus on him, the more that we focus on Jesus and what he did for us on the cross, the more naturally, for lack of a better word, humility, our hearts will respond in humility.